Hi and welcome to Ask an NHD Alum. My name is Wendy Rex Atzet. I'm the state coordinator for the National History Day program in Utah, and it's my pleasure to introduce our guests, Lindsay and Heather. And Lindsay and Heather are in 11th grade and 12th grade, one of each. And Lindsay's done NHD for 2 years now, and Heather has done it for 1 year. And last year they worked together on a project that went to nationals, which they're going to tell us about today. And they told me that they are working on another project this year with a few more kids as part of a group. So we're really happy to have you here and share what you've learned through doing NHD in the past, and hopefully help some kids figure it out and get some good tips from you for this year. All right, and with that, I will turn it over to you guys to tell us about your project.
All right, so our project is on Martha Hughes Cannon. She was a women's advocate. She was also like a doctor, which was really important because it was a really long time ago when she was a doctor. So her story starts out as an immigrant because she's from like Wales. She's coming over and then her dad dies. So that inspires her to be a doctor. And when she's a doctor, she goes to all these different schools, but she has to work to get money to pay for her schools or whatever. So she works as a typesetter, and that's where she learns all about women's rights and women's suffragists, which is the main thing that she's known for, which is being a women's suffragette. And then after she has been a doctor for like maybe a year, then you get a notice that she's actually married. We don't really know when she got married because she married a polygamous man, Angus M. Cannon, and became his fourth wife, and they had a secret wedding, so that's why we don't know. So during her career, she delivered a lot of polygamous babies. She was part of an LDS church. And she had to run away because of her delivering all those babies. Because she knew about all these polygamous families and all that, so she ran away, came back a couple times. But when Utah became a state, then they needed someone to be a senator. So she's like, you know what, I'll run. So she runs as a Democrat, and her husband runs as a Republican, and they run against each other, and she wins. Yeah, so a woman chose over a man. It was kind of cool. We talked about it a lot in the news at the time. It was really impressive. So today her legacy is how she has a statue in the Utah's Salt Lake. At the Capitol. Yeah, at the Capitol. And she's getting one at DC this coming months. And how all of the things she did in history changed what people believed how women were. Yeah, with her perspective and her knowledge, as not only as a woman but also as an immigrant, then she was really able to be an effective senator and really help Utah. And that's the majority of her story.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. I have a whole bunch of questions to ask you guys that students have submitted because they're curious about how NHD works and how you go about doing a research project for NHD. So let's start with your category. You guys did an exhibit. What's great about exhibits? What did you love about it? And what's challenging about doing an exhibit?
Okay, so the greatest thing that we really liked, as you can see on our picture, we got to really show our creativity. It looks really simple, but a lot of work was put into it. With the ribbon and stuff, we had to hang it just right. We used like some wire. And the nicest thing about the exhibit is that you get to see all your work come together, like actually come to life. And the difficult part was we had a limit of how much we could actually put on the board because we couldn't have it too tall or too wide. So this really brought the main parts of which ones we included on the board.
I see. So you really had to be selective and prioritize the information that you...
Yeah, there's a couple papers we had to just rip up and throw away. They don't fit on the board. We'll just have to our own words.
Yeah, and that's an important part of it. Being able to analyze your topic is to figure out what you what is the most salient information
yeah.
to include that relates to the argument that you're making, right?
Yeah.
Great. What's your number one tip for other kids who have never done NHD before?
Number one tip is probably how we could both put our creativity into it, and how don't both include
include both our talents, you know? So I tried not to suppress her talent, she tried not to suppress my talent, so we could put it together and make this way good project. So
and don't procrastinate at all.
yeah. So
Don't procrastinate.
it was really difficult when we procrastinated at all.
Did you have a series of deadlines set up so that you had
Yeah, we
have
did.
part done for a certain date, and then you would do the next
Yeah.
step for another date, and your teacher helped set up those deadlines?
Yeah, up until regionals,
Regionals.
then that's when the deadlines from our teacher ended and we had to make our own, but we still did it, so.
Bet you still did it. Good. So since you guys do group projects, and in NHD, a group can have from 2 to 5 students who work together on the same project, what tips do you have for people who are going to work in a group?
Like the same thing we said last time. Don't
Try not to overshadow, you know. Also,
Yeah.
You gotta make sure that someone knows how to do layout really good and someone has a lot of creativity so that you can add like a little nice pop-up if you're doing an exhibit, like the ribbon. And also someone who can understands the grammar really well, so they can edit and go through.
Great.
And also someone who has at least enough money to afford this stuff.
So kind of dividing up the work in a way that makes sense for different people's skills
Yeah.
and talents, right? But also,
Yes.
but being really respectful to the other people in your group and listening to them, and not, not trying to overrun them, is what I'm hearing. And then, and I'm sure, like, making sure that people feel like everybody's carrying a fair load, a fair part of the burden. Is that important too?
Yes.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. Make sure we have about a right amount.
Okay. What was the very first thing you did to start your NHD project? And how did you go about doing that?
So the first thing we did was we were like, what's the best thing that we can do to show this barrier that someone breaks down? Like maybe women's. So we go through all the women's and we're like, all right, this one's good because it's Utah, and we're trying to learn more about our state, you know, because that's what we care about. So we chose her because she was really inspiring woman, and we really want to learn more about her.
Great. What was the coolest primary source that you got to analyze?
We actually had interviews from her descendant and the Utah Senate and the person that's actually designing her statue up in DC. And it was really cool to see how her legacy changed.
Yeah, they also introduced us to the church archives, which had some letters and
Pictures.
of how she actually lived her life.
Nice. So I love that you went to an archive and didn't just surf around on Google.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not through her descendant.
How did you show multiple perspectives in this project?
Oh, we showed how she is through her family, through her career, education, and politics, and how each thing was different point of view.
Yeah, that's why it's separated by each thing. We have
Okay.
legacy at the bottom because that's her last thing.
That's a big.
Did you find any sources in your research that contradicted each other? And if you did, what did you do about that?
We actually did. Well, I did, and I didn't really know what to do, so I just didn't include them because I didn't know which one was actually true. So I just okay, skipping that one.
It's it's something to think about, isn't it? Because every primary source has a perspective of its own, right?
Yeah.
And
All of it's different.
yeah, like people don't feel the same way about things today, and they didn't feel the same way about things back then either, right?
Oh, we did include how everyone thought differently, but we didn't know like if she was married in secret or if she was not married in secret.
Oh, is that the thing that you couldn't find?
Yeah.
I see. So there are just different accounts, and it's not clear. It's sometimes you can't make an assessment about
Yeah, because we don't really know.
what really
We're just
happened.
basing on other people's things.
Right, if the evidence isn't clear about that. Yeah, exactly. And that happens in history. How did you keep track of your sources and then make your bibliography?
So every single time we found a source, we would
Put
put it on a Google Doc in the
and
MLA
decide it
format.
right then so we didn't forget about it.
Yeah. And then we go through it after and select the ones that we actually ended up using and put them on our annotated bibliography.
Nice. And
And
I
annotate
heard,
them some more.
and then made your annotations. And I think
Even
it was
more.
really smart that you put it right into MLA format right when you put it
Yeah.
on there, because then you didn't have to go
That's
back
what we
and
did.
fill all of that in later, which is a really painful task. It's
Yeah.
really smart to build it as you go. Good job. What was the biggest challenge you faced? And I'll say not including having to go to a virtual contest at the last minute, because everybody last year had to face that. But what challenge in your research is kind of more what I'm getting at. What was the hardest thing?
How in her will, how she wanted her things burned up. So it was really hard to find things from her writing
Yeah.
because all of it was burned up. So we actually had to find things from her husband's writing and see if.
Yeah, he saved some for letters. Even though she said to delete them, or not delete them, but burn them.
Yeah, because they were in polygamous and they didn't want them to be known as just that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we looked really hard for that. We were lucky to
In
find
the
the
archives.
Excellent. It's kind of cool when you start doing that detective work in the archives, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last question. What's your favorite thing about NHD, and how would you encourage kids who are working on a project this year?
Have a teammate you can actually work with
Yeah.
and have something you actually inspired to learn about.
Yeah, so it's more than just a grade for us because it was after school. You know, we didn't get a grade for going
just
to
kept going.
nationals or going to state or going to regionals. We just got a grade for doing good, like in general. The rest was, yeah, it was fun to just learn more.
Mm-hmm. Didn't you feel like it kind of took on its own momentum a little bit as you started digging into the different
Yeah.
sources?
It was also really fun to see it get put together.
How we both thought of different things, but it all went through one thing.
Nice. Nice. Okay, any last words for other kids out there?
Basically just have fun and remember that if you have a teammate, then you have a teammate who also needs to have fun. So
Don't stress too much or it's not really a good experience.
Doesn't matter if you win, doesn't matter if you lose, as long as you enjoy the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Bye.